More than 15 hours of interviews.
Sanctuary state, transgender athlete debate, gas prices,
healthcare for undocumented immigrants.
14 top candidates.
Redistricting.
Yes.
Did two wrongs make a right?
A dozen different issues.
How do you balance environmental policies with the cost of gas in California?
The Accountability Interview Series that thrust California's race for governor into the national spotlight.
Completely shaking up the race for California governor.
After a cringeworthy interview with a local journalist went viral.
One viral moment can change the trajectory.
I love everything about this interview.
Comparing the candidates side by side.
Asking the same questions.
Very different responses.
I need every vote. I feel like I just need to listen.
How would I need them in order to win?
Creating a viral moment that changed the course of the election.
It's now inspired AI-generated videos.
Now, a CBS News California Investigates special. California governor's race. Beyond the viral interview. The candidates, the issues, the stakes. Here's investigative reporter Julie Watts.
Okay, by now you've seen it, but we're taking you beyond our viral interview clip with then frontrunner for California Governor Katie Porter. We'll reveal the backstory you haven't heard and use these viral deepfake videos as a case study on California's battle over political AI laws, investigating the legal debate between free speech and misinformation. We'll also investigate just how much power our next governor actually has to overturn controversial California laws. Something California Attorney General Rob Bonta scoffed at when we asked him about one candidate's plan to make the AG sue the state.
I mean, legally speaking, you have to have thought about this. If you have a Republican governor who comes to you and says, sir, you have to file this lawsuit on behalf of the state of California to overturn an existing state law because I believe it's unconstitutional, how do you as AG handle that?
First, the governor's not my boss.
We did a little constitutional fact-checking. More from that interview coming up. But first, let's take a closer look at how our ongoing series, Beyond the Talking Points, became a catalyst for understanding the candidates, the issues, and the stakes in one of the most consequential elections in the country. Because you know the saying, as goes California, goes the nation. Our candidate accountability interview series began more than a year ahead of the election, when CBS News California Investigates partnered with the Asian Pacific American Public Affairs Organization on their gubernatorial forum.
They get to stand up here uninterrupted and tell you what they think makes them the best candidate for California governor.
Ahead of the forum, we sat down for more than 13 hours of interviews with the then top polling candidates. We've added a few candidates since.
Unlike what we're going to see today, I got to ask follow-up questions.
The idea was to push beyond the campaign talking points, covering a variety of issues based on suggestions from viewers, lawmakers, and community leaders.
They, to their credit, for the most part, allowed me to really ask those tough questions.
Our one question segments introduced viewers to the candidates. Then after the forum, our side-by-side on the issue segments started making news. These topic-specific segments help you easily compare the candidates side by side on the specific issues that matter most to you, revealing not just where the candidates stand, but how they respond to opposing viewpoints.
40% of Californians voted for President Trump. What do you say to those 6 million voters who you will also represent as governor?
And that's what led to the now viral interview clip. We've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that...
Well, to those voters, okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it.
It got attention not just because of what she said.
How would I need them in order to win, man?
But because the side-by-side format revealed how her response compared to the other candidates.
Here is a sampling with the other candidates asking the same questions.
I need every vote. I feel like they just want to be heard.
I would look at the polls of the state. Right now, the polls say protect California.
More on that coming up. But first, the field has changed a bit since we began. Let's meet some of the current top polling candidates.
I've gone against my party, my religion, to vote no against a bill which would have discriminated against same-sex couples.
And were there repercussions for that?
Yeah. I had people calling for my excommunication from the Catholic Church.
Javier Becerra was most recently Health and Human Services Secretary under the Biden administration during COVID. He was previously California Attorney General, a U.S. Congressman, and a California Assembly member.
I hope they continue to say that crime is down, because not only Are people not going to believe it? They're absolutely tired of politicians lying to them.
Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco is a Republican who's worked in law enforcement for more than 30 years.
We have a job to do, and we need to do the job that we were elected to do, and we constantly are getting baited into these fights with Donald Trump that we don't win as Democrats. We don't win the game against Donald Trump that he's so good at playing.
Democrat Ian Calderon would be California's first millennial governor and was previously the state's first millennial assembly majority leader.
We already pay the highest taxes in the whole country. We have to cut spending in California. They've doubled the budget. Is everything twice as good? Most people would say things have gotten worse.
Republican Steve Hilton is a public policy expert, formerly a Fox News host. Hilton was also senior advisor to the UK Prime Minister during Brexit. What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win?
Democrat Katie Porter is a UC Irvine law professor and was previously a U.S. Congress member.
You know, the elephant in the room has been your campaign ads don't even mention the environment. Have you had a change of heart? Is this something that's no longer a priority for you?
No, I have not had a change of heart, and it is a priority.
Democrat billionaire businessman and climate activist Tom Steyer briefly ran for president in 2020. In hindsight, do you regret keeping schools closed as long as they were?
Well, if we knew then what we know now, we would have known that we could manage COVID with two things, a face mask and a rapid COVID test.
Democrat Tony Thurmond is superintendent of California Public Schools and a former California State Assembly member.
Working with the other side is important. 25% of the state is Republican, but 40% voted for Donald Trump. I think we got to hear them out.
Democrat Antonio Villaraigosa is a former LA mayor and former California Assembly Speaker.
We have seen the wealth gap between the wealthiest Californians and the poorest Californians expand dramatically on Team Blue's watch with those supermajorities.
UC Santa Barbara professor Butch Ware is a Green Party candidate. He was previously the Green Party vice presidential nominee.
Every elected official's job is to be really good stewards of the public's dollars, and we've had a lot of money go out to try to meet certain needs, but that accountability about whether those dollars have worked, I mean, those metrics and those performance indicators really haven't been revisited.
Democrat Betty Yee was previously California State Controller.
Zaki Farms. We were the largest privately owned employer in the state of California. We're in business for 90 years, and now we're out of business.
Why is that?
Overregulation, the policies in California.
Republican Leo Zaki was previously vice president of Zaki Farms. Democrat Congressman Eric Swalwell was previously a prosecutor and a city council member. He's one of the most recent candidates to jump in the race. We're scheduled to interview him in the new year. Still ahead, sanctuary state.
Sanctuary state. Sanctuary state.
Side by side, the candidates weigh in on California's sanctuary state protections for undocumented people convicted of felonies. And keep it, overturn it, or let the voters decide. What the candidates think about the California law that lets transgender students pick which school sports teams they play on and which locker rooms they use. And you know this clip isn't real, or this one. So how do you know this one is? Still ahead, we take a look at AI's rising role in politics using the viral deepfakes from our Katie Porter interview as a case study. They're two of the most divisive issues across the country: immigration and transgender student athletes in school sports. Welcome back. I'm CBS News California investigative correspondent Julie Watts, and these are also two issues where California state law conflicts with federal policies and regulations, and some candidates for California governor want to change that. Let's start with immigration. A CBS News poll from October found 60% of registered California voters disagree with the Trump administration's program to find and deport immigrants who are here illegally. But there are aspects of that debate that don't fall along party lines or campaign talking points. And that gray area, that's where we focus our questions for our side-by-side on the Issues series. In this segment, candidates discuss California's sanctuary state policies specifically for undocumented people convicted of felonies. Sanctuary state. Sanctuary state. Sanctuary state.
There's a range of views on this. And I think a lot of people don't understand what sanctuary state means. So I really do want to define that in the question. Okay. Do you think California law enforcement should be allowed to work with ICE?
Specifically when it comes to convicted criminals who are undocumented. Convicted. Not someone in jail awaiting trial, but somebody who's been tried and convicted and is undocumented.
Yeah. 100%. Remember, this is federal law. You may not like the law, but it is the law. And I think generally speaking, it's a good idea to enforce the law.
And you commit a crime and you're undocumented, there should be consequences for those actions.
And we ought to deport violent and serious felons.
I think our sanctuary city policy is appropriate the way it is. I think that only in the case of there's exceptions built into it for violent criminals.
The law says what we can do, and yet if there are dangerous convicted criminals, we always call them. ICE knows who we have. What ICE has been asking us to do, and this is the
where's the
fine line.
distinction? Explain to me where the debate is.
Federal government cannot tell us in California to do federal immigration enforcement with them, for them. They can't. When someone's about to be released,
can you hold them?
Can you hold them? At that point, with state resources, the federal government is asking state and local law enforcement to do federal immigration detention.
Should CDCR be allowed to hold them until ICE comes and deports them?
That I do believe they should be able to do. Yes, these are convicted criminals.
And I am suing the state to make sure that sanctuary state is minimum amended, if not done away with, because it is harming our immigrant communities, even the immigrant communities that are here illegally.
It is really important that we have safe streets and safe communities. And for undocumented people who have committed serious or violent crimes, I think it's appropriate to interact and cooperate with ICE.
I don't think that our agencies should be doing ICE's job.
If the feds want to touch a single hair on the head of any California resident, they should have to go through every single lawyer and law enforcement officer inside of the state of California before they harm a single Californian. And I am going to prosecute police departments that are found to be operating in collusion with ICE, because that is not their job.
These side-by-side highlights give you a snapshot of where each candidate stands issue by issue. For a deeper dive, you can compare their full responses on the issues that matter most to you at cbsnews.com/beyond the talking points, where we'll be rolling out more topics in the new year. Transgender students on school sports teams is another complex cultural issue we tackled with the candidates. Now, a poll from the Public Policy Institute of California found 71% of California public school parents support President Trump's executive order requiring transgender athletes play on teams based on, quote, birth sex, not gender identity. That directly contradicts California law. Now, current Governor Gavin Newsom was recently criticized when he broke with the Democratic supermajority on this issue in particular during a podcast with late conservative political activist Charlie Kirk.
Years before I was governor, there was a law established the legal principles that allow trans athletes in women's sports. But the issue of fairness is completely legit. So I completely align with you. And we've got to own that. We've got to acknowledge it. I don't say that through the prism of politics.
The Trump administration is suing California over a 2013 state law that lets transgender students play on teams and use school locker rooms based on gender identity. Now, some California governor candidates defended that state law. Others vowed to help overturn it. And some didn't even know it is a state law.
So, transgender athlete debate. Transgender athlete debate. Transgender athlete debate.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on the debate over trans athletes, specifically in student sports?
In student sports,
Men, the boys play with the boys, the girls play with the girls.
I think there are ways that we can actually integrate transgender athletes in, whether it's like developing a separate league or...
Men who have gone through puberty and are now transgender women, should they play other women? No, I don't believe they should.
So I'm on record in supporting transgender athletes in their right to participate.
As a dad, as a coach, as a man, as a rational human being, boys should not be competing against girls. As a coach, I absolutely know that boys have no place in girls' sports.
The thing that I'm concerned about is how many desperate, vulnerable young people there are who feel completely unaccepted. So I'm someone who loves sports, but if you ask me what is more important, who gets to be on the team or who's accepted as a human being and doesn't try and kill themselves, my heart goes out to the vulnerable people who are trying to kill themselves.
I'm always willing to take in more information and have my opinion evolve over time. But as I stand now and what I've seen now, I do believe that there's an advantage and I don't support it.
There's nothing in the Constitution that says that you are entitled to play a sport.
I think these are rules that can and should be set by the governing bodies. And so in the case of California school sports, the California Interscholastic Federation, they should be making this decision.
Why would I, as the governor, be involved in a conversation about who gets to play which sport? Like, there are people whose job that is.
The California legislature is the one that decided this. And so that's sort of where you come in as governor, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'd have to look at the way you've read the law.
I actually have it. The bill would require,
this is current law.
Current law. The bill would require that a pupil be permitted to participate in sex-segregated school programs and activities, including athletics teams or facilities based on their gender identity, irrespective of the gender listed on the pupil's records.
If there's a law that says you cannot discriminate against someone because of who they are, then we must protect those individuals based on the law.
So it is not interscholastic here in California.
Although the Interscholastic Federation helps determine the rules under which those competitions occur.
Not every law is perfect or brilliant or genius. Why is it this constant conversation about these extreme minority groups all the time? Like, there are so many parents that are concerned about this, but their voices get silenced.
Most Californians want that to change. Every poll shows that. And I think this legislation has ended up creating tension and division, which shouldn't be there. And so I'd like to repeal that legislation.
Now, there's a long race ahead and new candidates are jumping in, but several polls show Republican candidates taking the lead. If a Republican were to win, we could see a rare situation in California where the governor and attorney general belong to different parties. Now, that's worth noting because, as you just heard, several candidates said they want to challenge state law, and one of the candidates plans to use the attorney general to do it. Attorney General Rob Bonta is a Democrat, and he's currently defending that law in federal court, a law that he helped to pass when he was a state assembly member.
I want to overturn the legislation that enables that. It's not fair. It's not fair for girls who've worked so hard. The governor has the right to challenge legislation and overturn legislation through the courts if the governor believes that it violates the state constitution. We believe that that legislation...
Who's we?
Me and my legal team.
Okay.
Violates the California Constitution in two specific places.
How so?
Section 28, which guarantees safe schools, and Section 31, which bans gender discrimination.
You're already coming in saying we think there are several California laws that are unconstitutional, and you're going to come in with your lawyers and try to overturn
first
them.
I'll ask the legislature to overturn it. That'd be my first step.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say if we still have the supermajority, it's not going to happen. But
I
okay,
agree.
assuming they don't overturn it.
Yes.
How does that work with the state attorney general? So the attorney general is elected, and certainly the current attorney general has a very good relationship with the current governor.
Yes.
What do you do if you have an attorney general who doesn't agree with you?
Actually, the attorney general is required to file that lawsuit if the governor determines that it violates the state constitution, regardless of party.
But how hard does the attorney general fight, or who do they assign to that case? Which prosecutor, right? There are things that an attorney general can do to try to kill a lawsuit. I mean, legally speaking, you have to have thought about this. If you have a Republican governor who comes to you and says, sir, you have to file this lawsuit on behalf of the state of California to overturn an existing state law because I believe it's unconstitutional, how do you as AG handle that?
First, the governor is not my boss. My boss is the people of the state of California. I'm independently elected. I'm an independent constitutional officer. I do not answer to the governor. I don't take direction from the governor.
But your office is his legal representation.
They are when the governor seeks it, they are my client. The governor is my client. So he's often my client.
So Steve Hilton, though, could be your client, and he could say, I want you to file this lawsuit on my behalf.
Right. And I can't do things that are unethical, or violate my professional obligations, and that are unlawful. I generally defend the laws of the state of California. That is my duty, unless they're unconstitutional. Sometimes there's a rare example. Kamala Harris thought Prop 8 was unconstitutional, and she refused to defend it. But we generally are defending the laws of the state of California. We go through the court process, and if a court decides against us and strikes it down, then we will. But the AG doesn't attack laws of the state of California at the request of a governor. That's not a thing.
It's worth noting, following that interview, AG Bonta began considering a run for governor himself. Okay, so the California Constitution clearly states the Attorney General is the chief law enforcement officer of the state. It also says he's subject to the power of the governor. Now, Jerry Brown, when he was Attorney General, and Kamala Harris after him, they both refused to defend California's same-sex marriage ban. But in that case, someone else sued the state to overturn the law. In this case, it would be the governor suing the state. Constitutional law experts we interviewed agree if an AG refuses to represent a governor, the governor could use state funds to hire outside counsel. So while a governor can't force an AG to sue the state, the AG can't prevent the governor from suing his own state agency to overturn state law. Still ahead.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
It was the question heard across the country. Well, at least part of the question. The story behind that viral interview excerpt with tens of millions of views, why context matters. Plus, how the AI deepfakes of our Katie Porter interview became a case study in the legal battle between free speech and misinformation as we enter a new era of AI-altered content. It's the question that thrust the California governor's race into the national spotlight.
Redistricting. What do you think of the governor's plan?
I support the governor's plan.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, ma'am?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%? Everybody who did not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're saying.
In a general election, yes. If it is me versus a Republican, I think that I will win the people who did not vote for Trump.
What if it's you versus another Democrat?
I don't intend that to be the case.
So how do you not intend that to be the case? Are you going to ask them not to run?
No, I'm saying I'm going to build the support. I have the support already in terms of name recognition. And so I'm going to do
Now, if you only saw that viral clip, context here is key. First of all, not all Californians who voted for Trump in 2024 were Republicans. And in California, there's an open primary, sometimes called a jungle primary, where the top two vote getters, regardless of party, advance to the general election. And with so many Democrats in the race, those who can appeal to some of that 40% may have an advantage in the primary and would definitely have an advantage if the top two candidates are both Democrats. Well, to those voters, okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered our follow-ups.
I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation in which you ask me about every issue on this list. And if every question you're going to make up a follow-up question, then we're never going to get there.
Ms.
And
Porter,
we're just going to circle around.
I am an investigative
I have never
reporter.
had to do this before, ever.
You've never had. So, for context, she did stay another 20 minutes, 30 minutes total, though Porter was the only candidate who would not agree in advance to a full hour for the interview. It would be about a month before we posted the full segment that includes the now viral interaction. But within hours, AI deepfakes and so-called cheap fakes of our interview flooded social media. Porter slapping me, throwing potatoes on me, playing patty cake. The fakes quickly racked up millions of views, and other news outlets began covering the implications of the AI videos. And we launched an investigation, turning to data, research, and legal experts as our interview and these AI clips became a case study, the tension between free speech and misinformation.
AI deepfake videos like these aren't new. What is new is who can make them. Just days before our Katie Porter interview went viral, OpenAI released Sora 2, putting studio-quality video generation in the hands of more everyday users. No training needed, just a prompt and a few minutes.
Let's do this. Ready?
As our viral interview collided with a viral shift in AI video generation,
Baker's man.
these Katie Porter deepfakes became a case study on how quickly generative AI can distort real news content, how fast the fake videos can rack up views, and how lawmakers are struggling to keep up.
So my initial thought, frankly, is to laugh. And my second thought is whether or not there could be any legal action attached to these videos.
CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson notes parody and even false speech are protected under federal law. And in most cases, this is considered free speech. Just this year, California lawmakers passed 2 laws that would have required social media platforms to clearly label these videos as AI generated and take them down within 60 days of an election because they feature Katie Porter, a political candidate. But federal courts recently struck down both California laws, citing federal law that protects the social media companies. It was written back in the 90s when the internet was in its infancy. And, of course, citing free speech.
That's the First Amendment that we have.
Levinson says while there are protections against defamation, federal law shields the social media companies, so you'd have to track down the person who actually made the video.
I mean, using this video as a case study, certainly Katie Porter could argue that this is false information. She did not, in fact, slap me. And I think she probably could also argue that it caused some sort of reputational harm. She has dropped significantly in the polls. Do you think she would have a legal argument there?
So she could. She would need to show that these videos really were reasonably believable, that they were made with the proper level of intent, again, actual malice, and that they in fact did cause reputational harm. If a video just confirms what we already believe about somebody, there can be a question about really what you would be able to recover.
And research from the First Amendment Institute suggests content does not have to be believable to influence elections. A study of AI's impact on India's recent elections found so-called cheap fakes, videos that are obviously not real, can be more influential than high-quality deep fakes because they reinforce emotions and existing attitudes. And cheap fakes are far more common and they spread more quickly. CBS News California Investigates will have more from our ongoing AI investigation in the new year. And in the meantime, look for more of our side-by-side on the issues segments, focusing on crime, homelessness, environment, gas prices, and more. You'll find those on our YouTube channel and cbsnews.com/Beyond Talking Points.
We'll be rolling out those accountability interview segments alongside a series of new CBS News California investigations on related issues. And yes, there will be follow-up questions.